Hello guys, for this video I'm going to be covering what tier 10s to grind for first. If you're new to the game or you already got a couple of tier 10s and you're kind of unsure which ones to go for, I'm just going to be doing a little guide on tier 10s that I think should be some of the first ones to get, some of the different tier 10s you should stay away from until you're more experienced in the game. Real quick false weaknesses and how their overall grind to tier 10 is. And I'm just going to go through each one, medium, heavy, tank destroyers, and SPGs, and give my recommendations, which be the first ones you should go for, and the ones that kind of stay away from. In my opinion, this is just for my playstyle, and if you do clan wars, I do clan wars, so that will be taken into account, but mainly it's just going to be how the grind is to tier 10 and then how the actual tier 10 performs. Which ones I think you should go for first. So first up we're going to do the medium tanks. Now I've got most of the tier 10s in the game, and I've got most of the tier 10 mediums, including like the M60 reward tank. Which ones do I think you should go for first? Well, let's first start by knocking off the ones that I think you should wait on. M60 obviously is reward tanks. You can't get it, but it's pretty much just like the patent. This would be one that I would wait to get. Not saying it's a bad tank. It's okay tank. It's just I think some of the other options are a lot better. The patent though does have an excellent grind. The on the patent research on the line, going up to it, it has one of the best grinds in the game. Every single tank leading up to the M48 patent is excellent. The T20, the Pershing, the M46 are really, really good tanks. Best in tier mediums almost. Except maybe the patent's not. But it's an excellent tier 9 medium. I've not played it yet. I have played it on the test server, however, and it's really, really great. The only reason I won't recommend this one first is just because of the N tank, the actual M48 patent. I would kind of stay away from. So next up, we'll eliminate that one. Then we'll eliminate the 907, and next we'll eliminate the Leopard 1. This is a really good tank. It's very fast and mobile, and it's got the best gun on a medium tank in the game. But it has no armor, and so it's really not too new player friendly, in my opinion. This is one you would go for after you've gotten a couple others, in my opinion. I'll end up doing a review of this tank at some point, but that's not for now. So we'll eliminate the Leopard 1. Next up, STB1, the tier 10 Japanese medium. This is a really, really, really fun medium. This is really a great one. And I almost want to say this is one of the ones I would go for first. The grind to it, though, however, can be challenging. The tanks leading up to the STB can try your patience, especially tier 5, 6, and 7. I really did not like those. Once you get to tier 8, STA1 is not bad. Type 61 is even better. But of course, neither of them have armor. They all have great depression and whatnot, but they have no armor. You will get pinned every shot. The STB plays just like them, except the STB actually does have armor on its turret and only on its turret. But this is a depression medium. This would be like number 3, perhaps, on my list of tanks to go for, medium-wise. Now, my top 2 picks, of the top 2 I think you should go for first, and this is either or, would be the Batchat 25T or the T62A /140/430, any of the Russian mediums. It's a toss-up, really, between either the Batchat or those. The Batchat is so good at what it does. It doesn't have any armor, but this thing handles like a light tank, and its gun will really lay tanks out. 390 damage a shot, and you have a 5-round autoloader. So you can swipe through tanks, dump your clip, and kill uh, most of the tanks in the game. I mean, you can just outright kill a lot of the tanks in the game. Um, and also, it's extremely valuable for clan wars. We use Batchats a lot. So, medium tank wise, I would definitely say the Batchat would be a great pick to go for first. The only really downside to the Batchat, of course, is the grind up. It's all light tanks pretty much, except the Lorraine 40T. Um, so if you enjoy playing light tanks and are proficient at it, and you know how to scout and whatnot, then I would say definitely go for it. If you don't really like playing light tanks, though, I would maybe go with the Russian mediums first and get this one later. But the Batchat should definitely be on the list of a tier 10 you need to get. This is really, really great. And I actually really enjoyed all the tanks in this grind, other than the below tier 4. I didn't really like these ones too much. The H35 is not bad though. Once you get to tier 6, you start getting the autoloaders. Is when I really enjoyed the grind. I liked the 12T. I liked the 1375 and the 1390. I still own. That's one that I kept. I liked it so much. Lorraine 40T back in the day used to be boss. Now it's a hunk of crap. I really don't like it too much. Um, so that's really the only downside on the grind. But once you get that Batchat, man, that's where your boss status. Now for the Russian mediums, out of the Russian mediums, I actually like the 62A the most. I know a lot of people like the 140. Um, the reason why I prefer the 62A is because it has a better turret. This thing's turret, regardless it's saying 240, the same thickness, it is not as bouncy as this thing. This thing's turret will bounce just about everything in the game. It's not too often. I mean, even facing tier 10 tank destroyers, do I get pinned in my turret? This thing bounces all, and it's got a great. The top part of the turret here is really well armored. Anything hitting up here is going to bounce off. But the 140, to see this little dome cap, it's a really big weak spot actually. And so anything that hits that dome cap pretty much is going to go through. And on the plus side, though, the 140 does have 1 degree better gun depression. So that's really a toss-up. Personal preference. Do you prefer the stronger turret, or do you prefer the more gun depression? And the 140 is a little bit faster than 62A as well. So you really can't go wrong with either one. And the 430 now, I have not played it, but it does actually have the best DPM of the 3 tanks. But it has a similar weak spot problem to the 140 on the top of the turret. And it has the 62A's gun depression. So you don't have the strong turret from the 62A or the depression from the 140, but the 430 has better DPM. It's smaller. It's just as fast, and it has a better camo rating. But really, any of these 3 would be great. As far as the grind leading up to them, I would say the T62A and the 140 grind is much, much more enjoyable. I like the grind leading up to these tanks much more than the one leading up to the 430, which I have unlocked. I just haven't bought it yet. The 416 I thought was an okay tank. I really didn't like it too much. It has an outstanding gun though. A44 I hated. Everything before that I hated. This one though, the 432, is outstanding. That is a really, really good tier 9 medium. It's got great armor. It's got tier 10 pretty much armor. Its turret is like a 62A turret. On the flip side, the T54, universally known as one of the best tier 9s in the game. It's excellent tank. You can't go wrong with it. It's been nerfed a little bit, but it's still boss. And I actually liked all the tanks leading up to it. I liked the T44 a lot. I liked the T43. I actually went through the KV13. I like this one a lot too, from the KV85, which used to be KV1S. So anyways, medium tank wise, I would go for Batchat or Object 140 or 62A. Those would be my top 2 picks of tanks to go for first. They're the most useful in pub matches. You can carry matches with them easiest, and they're used in clan wars a lot. They're very new player friendly. You can make mistakes in these tanks, and they will pick it up for you because they have enough armor or hit points and firepower. So there's really generally great tanks that I would definitely go for first. Next, let's move on to the heavy tanks. Now, heavy tanks is extremely versatile here. There's a lot more picks. The ones to stay away from. So right off the bat, 113 I would stay away from. Of all of my tier 10s I own, this is the only one I don't like. So I would stay away from the 113. The Moss, I actually do like the Moss, but it's so slow that it causes problems in pub matches, and it's also not used in clan wars very much, so I would stay away from that one. The VK obviously is a reward tank, so you can't get that one. The 50B is my favorite tier 10 autoloader heavy, but because it has no armor and whatnot, I would say wait on this one. Put it on the list of things to get, but I wouldn't go for it first. Now, for your first tier 10 heavies, you're going to want versatile tanks that have good grinds that are used in clan wars. The E5 is still universally thought of as an excellent, excellent tank, and it has one of the best grinds in the game. Every tank leading to the E5 is excellent. Every single one of these tanks. Once you get past the Lee, of course, the tier 4 Lee is not that hot. But the T1 heavy tank, the M6, the T29, the T32, the M103, and the E5 are all pretty much my favorite tanks, favorite heavy tanks in those tiers. The M103, the T32, T29, and M6. And the E5 is also a really, really outstanding tier 10 heavy tank. Extremely versatile, really good gun, high DPM. This thing has really no faults. It's the jack of all trades tier 10. It can do everything well. It can city fight, it can hill fight, it can corner fight. It has enough side armor to side scrape. This is just, it's a really solid tier 10 choice. And it's not my favorite tier 10 heavy. The 15B would have that. But the versatility of this tank, the grind leading up to it, its use in clan wars, all that combined would, my pick for tier 10 heavy tank has to go to the E5 as your first one to go for. After the E5, I would probably go with one of the Russian heavies. The IS-7 and the IS-4 are both really excellent tanks. I like them both about equally. IS-7 definitely has the stronger armor on the front, whereas the IS-4 definitely has the stronger armor on the sides. Side scraping ability and whatnot. I'm actually going to do reviews on both of these tanks. But either one of these you really can't go wrong with. The IS-7 is probably used more in clan wars than the IS-4. A lot of people kind of hate on the IS-4, but they're just not playing it right, because this tank is a monster. I really, really like this tank too. I like all of my tier 10 heavies really except the 113. But these two are really solid choices. Their grinds leading up to them, I'm calling them grinds, but really should be the tanks leading up to them. They're both really good. I mean, there's no complaints here. The grind going up to the IS-4, the KV-1 is excellent. The T-150 is excellent. KV-3, KV-4, and SCI, all of those tanks are really, really fun tanks that I enjoyed a lot. Between the two lines, these are definitely the slower, more heavily armored tanks. And then when you get to tier 10, they kind of even out. But as far as the grind, these are definitely the slower, more heavily armored tanks. The IS-7 has the KV-1S, the KV-85, the IS, the IS-3, and the IS-8. IS-3 is so good. I kept it. Excellent, excellent tank. Universally thought of as probably the best tier 8 heavy tank or contender for it. IS-3, T-32, probably the best two Tier 8 heavies. The IS-8 I thought was merely okay, but definitely playable. I mean, you can still stomp in it. It's just I preferred the STI over the IS-8. But these would be my number 2 and 3 choices in no particular order, either IS-7 or IS-4. Those would be the number 2 and 3 heavy tanks that I would go for. And then after that, whatever, autoloaders, you can go for 50B or the T-57, or you can go for the E-100. I almost put this at number 2 and 3 because it is such a strong tank and it has such a good gun. I mean, this thing has a tank destroyer gun pretty much. And it has a really excellent grind. The grind leading up to the E-100 is another excellent grind. There's no bad tanks here. Every tank leading up to the E-100 is excellent. The Tiger 1, the Tiger 2, the E-75, which is so boss, and the E-Hundy, they're all really excellent. So I would almost put that at number 2 or 3, but the Russian heavies, you know what? I'm going to leave it up to your personal play style, which one you like more. The E-100 is a lot larger than either of these two tanks, obviously. As far as grind goes, I would say they're pretty much even. I did like the IS-4 and E-100 grinds more than I like the IS-7 grind, though. So that's a toss-up, you know. 2, 3, 4. But you really can't go wrong with any of them. With any of these three. You know, if you want to go E5 then E-Hundy, it's perfectly understandable. You know what, the E-100 is actually used more in Clan Wars than either of these two by far. These are just so pub friendly tanks, and the E-100 is too. So you know what, I'm actually gonna either of those three for number 2 and 3 or 4. You know, whatever. I would still go with the E5 for the first one though, because it's so versatile that you just can't go wrong, and the grind leading up to it is so good that this would be my number 1 pick for Tier 10 heavy tank. Let's move on to Tank Destroyer. Tank Destroyers now, this has been an evolution. Ones that used to be good are now crap. Ones that used to be crap are now good. It's just, they're changing so much. If I was having to choose, if I was going to grind for a heavy tank or a medium or a TD or an SVG, the Tank Destroyers would be at the bottom of the list that I would grind for. I would rather have a Tier 10 heavy or Tier 10 medium over a Tier 10 TD. But let's say you want a Tier 10 TD. Which one to grind for first? That is such a tough decision. The ones I would stay away from. I would stay away from the Foch because this thing is just a shadow of what it used to be, and the grind leading up to it I didn't really enjoy that much. 62 or the 268, sorry, is again another tank that's kind of a shadow of what it used to be. It's still a good, you know, if it's a Tier 10 Tank Destroyer, it's still going to perform and it's still going to put the damage out. But this thing just is not as good as it used to be, and the grind leading up to it though is one of the best Tank Destroyer grinds in the game. Once you get to really the SU-100, everything from there up, going to the 268 is just excellent tanks. So the 268 has probably of all the tanks, that all the Tier 10 Tank Destroyers, is probably my favorite grind. It's just the Tier 10 tank that kind of lets me down a little bit. My current favorite Tier 10 in the game is without a doubt the 263. This thing is like the mutant of Tier 10s. It has the speed of a medium tank, the armor of a heavy tank, and the firepower of a Tank Destroyer. This thing has one of the highest damage per minutes in the game. It's got a really excellent gun that has APCR for its gold round, which is a really big deal. Its armor from the front will bounce. It can bounce anything in the game. Your only real weak spot is right here, your lower plate. And this is 250 millimeters thick, that if people switch to gold, they can get through right in here. But this thing is so mobile, so fast, that you can avoid a lot of that. It's got good camo. Um, it's definitely my favorite tier 10 TD in the game currently. But there's always a but. The grind leading up to this tank is one of the worst in the game, in my opinion. I hated after the SU-100, which is a good TD, the SU-100M1, the SU-101, and the 122-54. I could not stand these three tanks. They were god awful. I hated every game I played in them. I really did not enjoy them. The only reason I kept going is because this thing, I thought it was worth it when I was grinding for it, and I was so right. It was totally worth it. But the grind leading up to this tank will be a challenge. So that's up to you if you can endure the grind. This one, I would say, is a good one. I don't really enjoy the waffle too much, but the waffle does have a really excellent grind. The only reason I don't like the waffle is just because it's so goddamn troll. Its gun is retardedly overpowered, and it's just, I just don't like it. It's too troll. The 183, it's more armored now. It'll bounce shots better. Its gun is not as good as it once was at only 230 pin on its Hesh round. Still, getting shot by one of these will either break your tank or destroy it. The grind leading up to this tank, definitely you have to have an acquired taste, because the whole line leading up to the 183 is extremely slow, very heavily armored, high DPM TDs. So some people really enjoy this grind, some people really not. And for that reason, I would not pick the 183 as my first one to go for. Next is the Echo 3. This is my second favorite tank destroyer in the game currently. The Echo 3 is one of the only TDs that its armor is so good you can sit there and just let enemies shoot you, and its armor it's that good. This thing will just bounce and bounce and bounce as long as you have this lower plate covered. You can bounce everything in the game, and you can bounce everything in the game with ease. And on top of that, this thing has the deadliest gun in the game as far as the round it shoots. This thing has a 375 pin APCR gold round. Now, why that is so much better than, let's say, the 268s? The 268 has a 395 pin, but it's heat and high explosive anti-tank. So that means if you hit tracks or spaced armor, this thing, it's just not going to penetrate. This APCR, however, will go through everything. If you run into a moss that's side scraping on a corner and he's angled, aim this thing with its gold round at the flattest portion of the moss you can get. It doesn't matter where. You can shoot him in the damn gun mantle. It doesn't matter where. Just aim at flat armor. It'll go through. It's simple as that. That round is that powerful and that good. Its penetration is just retarded. The grind leading up to the E3 is right here. They play tier 8 and 9 play very similar to the E3. They're extremely slow tanks. Again, the T28 top speed of 18 and the T95 has a top speed of 13. So the T95 pretty much the slowest tank in the game, but they're extremely heavily armored and they have really excellent guns. The T25 AT is kind of the reverse of that. It's very fast, maneuverable, great camo, good gun, no armor. The Jackson is I play it pretty much just like a medium or heavy. It has a turret and it's very versatile, and the Wolverines is pretty much the same thing. The lower tiers, you grind through them so quick that I wouldn't pick a line based on that. Really, tier 7 and up is where you'll start spending a lot of time in the tanks, and that's where I would make recommendations on. I really enjoyed the grind up to the E3. I really liked the T25, the T28, and the T95. I did really well with them. So the E3 is definitely a contender. Now, along with that is also the Echo 4. Echo 4 is probably not. It's kind of like the E5. It's kind of really versatile tier 10 tank destroyer. It's up to you if you can. It has some serious downsides. This turret up here is only 200 millimeters thick. Its gun mantle is pretty much impenetrable, but people will get through here a lot, and they will get through. The hole is just like an E5 hole, so just think of that. You can people will penetrate your lower hole pretty easily, and your sides here, but these are pretty small comparatively to this gun mantle, and you know, for them to be looking on you, you can look back with this huge gun that has the same round as the E3, that 375 pin APCR. The gun stats on the E4 are worse than the E3. The E3 aims quicker, fires quicker, and the E3 actually has more gun depression. The E3 actually has -8 gun depression, so it can hold down on hills and whatnot better than any other TD in the game. So, hey, my recommendations for which ones to go for first. I would either go with the Echo 3 or the 263. The 263 is definitely more versatile. It can adapt and handle more situations, and it's fast. It can respond to the battlefield. Horrible, horrible grind leading it to it, however. The E3 can handle anything on the battlefield. It just has to get to there first because it's not very fast. A top speed of 24, I tend to cruise right around that in matches, so it's not very fast. It's quick enough to get around, kind of, but you can't react and respond to different situations very well. But anything in front of you, you can kill with this thing pretty easily. In my E3, another thing I really like about this tank is the tracks. I use a toolbox on mine, and these tracks repair in like 2.5 seconds with my crew, all repair crew, and the toolbox. So a lot of people will try to track you and then flank you, but this thing repairs its tracks so quick that usually I don't even have to use a repair kit because my tracks will be up so quick. Anyway, so that my recommendations for the TD grinds would be either the Echo 3 or the 263, followed by either the E4 or 268. Now, I don't have all the tier 10s in the game, but most of the ones that I don't have would be at the bottom of the list anyways. That's why I don't have them yet. So like the Jagdpanzer E100 would be at the bottom of the list because it's just not as good as the ones I currently own. Any tier 10s that I don't currently own, like the FE4202, I don't own them yet because they're at the bottom of the list of priorities of which ones to get. So that's why some of the tanks you don't see in my tech tree because I just haven't got them yet because they just haven't been worth it. They're not as good as the ones I currently own. So anyway, yeah, E3, 263, my top picks. After that, really up to you. I would either go maybe E4 or 268 or Waffle after those two. As far as usage in Clan Wars, the Waffle does get used more than in Clan Wars more than the other tanks, just because its gun is so retarded. I mean, you can kill pretty much any tier 10 in the game with this thing's gun. It's just stupid. So this is probably the most used TD in Clan Wars. But since the majority of your time will be spent in pub matches, that's what that takes precedence over Clan Wars, right? So that's why I would pick the E3 or the 263 for my grinds. Next up, we're going to look at SPGs. Now this is the easiest of the three. Oops. By far the easiest decision. As you see, I only own one. Now if you watch any of my other videos, you know I hate Artie with a passion. I hate getting shot by it. But when I'm doing the shooting, it's not too bad. And without a doubt, the #1 SPG to go for in the game is this bad boy right here. The Conqueror gun carriage will shit on every other SPG in the game. This thing, in my opinion, by far the best tier 10 arty in the game, bar none. On top of that, the grind leading up to it is probably the funnest SPG grind in the game. Once you get to the 304, everything after that I really enjoyed. The 304 is broken. It's so goddamn good. The Crusader SPG, a lot of people don't like. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Definitely out of the grind, though. It is kind of the black sheep. So once you get to 304, you're really going to love that. You may not like that one too much, but once you get to the 207, my favorite tier 8 arty, and the 3805 is my favorite tier 9 arty. These three, which is where you'll be spending the majority of your time, they are, in my opinion, the best in the game. The Conqueror gun carriage is retardedly good. On mine, I got 195 battles, 63% win rate, with an average damage of 2,964. It was well over 3,000 until I started trying to do some of those arty missions and whatnot, and I lost a lot of my damage per game because of the stupid mission requirements. And then I switched down to a lower tier arty, but it used to be well over 3,000. So yeah, easy pick for that. If you are going for arty, God have pity on your soul to begin with, because it's the most cancerous thing in the game that I hate more than anything else. But if you must sell your soul to the dark side, then at least sell it for a good price and go with the Conqueror gun carriage. Number 2 arty grind to go for, I would say either the 261 or the American line, though I would probably just stop at the M5355. This thing's used in Clan Wars a lot, actually, because it's better than the tier 10 version. The M5355 is better than the T92. Good mobility, good rate of fire, good damage, good accuracy. It's superior to this tank. So as you see, if I do get another arty, it'd be this one. This would be the second one I got. So there's my recommendations for which tier 10s to grind for first. Again, it's just totally my opinion here, how I feel the ones that are the most friendly to go for, that have the best grinds, that are used in Clan Wars, etc., etc. And I'm going to be trying to put out guides to actually each and every one of these things, so you can actually get a feel and look of actually how they're played, the armor models, the strengths and weaknesses of each one, etc., etc., etc. And those will be coming soon, but these are the ones to pick that I would go for first, without a doubt. Anyway, this is Ironhide X. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe, and I will see you next time.